So, as you can see, I'm in another new location, and that is because I finally have my office slash reading room exactly how I want it, and I got this awesome couch to put in here to read on, and I thought that this would be a really great filming setup. Today I'm here to talk about one of the best books that I've read this year, probably one of the best books I've read in my entire life, and that is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I read this book back in June. I actually listened to it via audiobook, and I absolutely fell in love with the story, and so now I just want everybody to read it. It's such a good book, and I think there are a million reasons why people should read this book, but I have come up with 3 very good reasons why you should read this book. So instead of this being like a normal review video, it's gonna be more like a recommendation. My 3 reasons why everybody needs to pick up this book. And I'm gonna start with a very brief synopsis, and then I'm going to jump into the actual meat of the video. So very briefly, I don't want to talk too much about it because I think this is one of those books that you should go into knowing as little as possible, just because that's the magic of the story. But I will say that it follows the story of a boy named Daniel who goes to this giant library called the Cemetery of Forgotten Books with his father when he is a young boy, and his father tells him that he is allowed to take one book home and read it and care for it and treat it as if it is a treasure. And so after searching through the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, Daniel finds a book called The Shadow of the Wind by Julian Corax, and he decides that that's the book he wants. So he takes it and he reads it and he falls in love with the story, and he wants more. He wants more of the books by this author, and so he kind of sets out on this journey to find other works that this author has written, and he discovers that somebody has been destroying this author's works, and he kind of sets out to discover what's going on and try to figure out what the mystery around this guy is and where all of his books are. And that's really all you need to know, because that is the gist of the story. Like I said, I've come up with 3 of what I feel are the most important reasons why everybody needs to read this book. So my first reason is that this is one of those stories that has so many layers to it. There are so many threads to the story, and there are a lot of different storylines going on, and you're reading and you're thinking, how is this all going to tie together? And then it does. There's that magical moment towards the end of the book where everything makes sense, and it's done in such an interesting way, and it's really, really surprising. Like, you don't really anticipate exactly how it's going to happen, and even me saying that, you know, you're gonna think, oh, I'm gonna be waiting for it, but still, you're going to be surprised by how the stories weave together. The main character, Daniel, and the author of the book, The Shadow of the Wind, Julian Corax, their lives are so parallel to each other, and you're reading and you're seeing how their lives are lining up, and you can see kind of how and why Daniel is so affected by this book and by this author. And when you get to the end and there's this huge payoff and everything kind of makes sense, it's so wonderful. And in my opinion, getting to the end is great, but the ending isn't the big part of the story. The big part of the story is the journey from start to finish and learning as you go. And it's such a good way of telling a story that I can't even put it into words. The next reason is that this book features an entire host of characters, and every single one of them is dynamic. You have all of these different storylines, like I mentioned, and every single character has a backstory. You learn a lot about every character that you're reading about, and you get really attached to each of the characters. Even the characters that aren't so great, you kind of want to know how they fit into the story, and you want to know exactly their role in this whole ordeal. Each of the characters feels so real, and even though there are main characters, obviously, it feels like the other characters, the side characters, are also main characters. They don't feel like side characters because they get so much backstory and they get so much page time, and you learn so much about them, and it's really hard not to get attached to every single character that's mentioned in this book, because there's something about every single one of them that makes this story so magical. And my third and probably most important reason is that everybody can take something away from this story. If you are a big fan of books and you get really attached to that part of the story, you're going to take that away from the story. If you don't read as much, but you happen to pick this book up and you get really attached to the characters, or you see yourself in the story, you're going to get attached to that part of the book and you're going to take that away from the book. Everybody is going to take something away from this book, and for everybody it's going to be something different, and I think that that is truly the magic of the story. And additionally, I can see this being one of those books that every single time you read it, you find something new in the story, you learn something else about yourself, you take away something different every single time you read it, and that's just a magical thought to me. I know that I've said magical a lot in this video, but it really is a magical thought to think that every single time I read this book, I will probably take something different away from it. And I think that that is incredible. So those are my kind of rambly thoughts, reasons why this is one of the best books that I've ever read, and why I think it's a book that everybody should read. The characters are great, the story is so wonderfully told, and it's just incredible. So that is really all I have to say for this video. If you have read The Shadow of the Wind and you have very similar feelings to mine, I would really love to know that down in the comments. Also, if this video inspires you to pick up The Shadow of the Wind, please let me know, because that is really just what this video is all about, and it would make my heart so happy. And also, if there is a book that you feel similarly about the way that I feel about The Shadow of the Wind, please recommend those books to me down in the comments, because I would really love to find more stories that just touch me the way The Shadow of the Wind touched me. I can't remember the last time I read a book that great, and I want more. I want more stories like that. So leave any kind of recommendations down in the comments. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!